Dear student, we will talk about how we can insert the data. We have already discussed this topic in the class. Now I'm just recording. So if you remember, we have created the one web service, get all employee web service dot asmx. One of the function is here, that's insert record. This record is basically we are using this function using to insert the employee record. So let me insert the one new record, employee number, employee ID 100, name Nasirullah, he have done, let's say, BCS, and rating is 4.9. So click on the invoke button. So this record has been inserted successfully through the web service. Let's go to the dedicated server, and within the dedicated server, refresh the table, and you can just see we have the Nasirullah here. So this is how we can just call this web URL in the Android application. To do that, we have already discussed this thing in the class. So first of all, we have to set the Android permission, like this application will be able to access data from the internet. So here we have provided permission. Then which type of the data is accessible? Only text data is accessible. So this application can access the textual data from the internet. Then we have designed our user interface consisting of the employee ID, employee name, narrative, and then we have the rating here, and then finally we needed here the one save button. So this way we have designed our user interface. So what we want to do, basically, when someone click here, it should save the data uh, into the database through the web service. To do that, on the click event of save button, what we have done, first of all, on the on create, we get all the controls. We get the employee ID, name, narrative, and rating bar, and then we have set the on the click event of the save button, save btn, which is our save button. On the click listener, we have just called the one class, which is JSON task. As we have already discussed about the JSON task in the last lecture, I do not need to much explain about the JSON task because we have already discussed such things in the previous class when we try to fetch the record from the external databases. So it has the one built-in function dot execute, and where we have to provide this particular URL. So either you can just copy and paste. So this way, http portal.kardan.edu.af :82 / get all employee web service asmx / insert record. So we have just passed this particular URL. We have passed this particular URL to our do in background function within the class JSON task, and this is the do in background function. It's a built-in function. So this URL will comes automatically under the string variable, and what we have to do here, we have to just perform here a couple of steps. First of all, we have to get that URL. So string, which is our where we have just passed our URL. So 0 mean that the only one URL we have just passed. So we have get that URL. Then we get all the values from the different control, from the employee text box, name, narrative, and employee rating bar. Then, as I just told you, you cannot pass, by the time you want to save data, you cannot pass your data directly in integer format, in a string format. You need to convert into the standard format which is acceptable for the web service. That is called UTF-8 format. UTF-8 format is the standard type of format acceptable for the web service to accept your data. So that's why we are encoding our data with data employee ID into the UTF-8, employee name into UTF-8, and similarly we did for all. After that, uh, what we did here, we try to open the through the URL, we try to open the connection. Now, whenever you want to insert your record, if you want to insert record, update record, delete record, so that's mean that you want to, you are not trying to fetch record, you are trying to do something in the server side. Either you want to insert, update, or delete. So that's not an input request, that's an output request. So that's why I'm just putting here set do output equal true, and it is the post request. So it's not a get request. Get request normally by default it's a get request, which we do not need to write down, which mean that we want to fetch the record. But if in case if you want to insert record to external database, then you have to use the post method. Request type is basically request method is post. Okay. And then we try to fetch all the length of the bytes, like these bytes. We get all, because all these things we have stored inside the param variable. So we get all the fixed size data. And which type of data it is? It is encoded data of UTF-8 format. Now finally we have to write this data to external server, so that's why we are just using here output stream. We are not using the input stream. Input stream we are using in the last lecture we use, if you remember, we use the input stream. But this time we want to output stream, mean that the stream will go from our application to external database side. Okay, now get your stream, because you have stored your stream inside the connection. So now your stream is inside the OS. So so here basically we are just writing buffer writer, new writer, which stream you want to write down. You want to write down this OS stream, which is our data. Now in which format this data is? This is in UTF-8 format. Okay, finally write param, and after writing, destroy my object, close my object, and close the output stream. So this way basic. So let me just insert the record. Let's say the new record is 101. Abdul Ghaffar. Narrative, we have done his MS from England, and this is the rating. So let's click on the save button, and then let me just check in the database. So you can just see we have Abdul Ghaffar on 101. Now this is what we have discussed in the last class. So in the next lecture, only the one last topic is left, which is how we can delete and update the record. So in the next video, I'm just recording about delete and update.